Greetings everyone, this is Mike Wright, the Astro Sherpa, dropping in with a spatial report. We are looking at a moon just crossed over the midheaven, creeping up on Jupiter. Jupiter retrograde in Gemini. So I'm going to take you on a field trip. Tune in. We're going to see this moon and Jupiter and Mars. Mars is actually in a really wild spot in the sky, and it's right on Castor and Pollux, the Gemini twins, the Dioscuri. So that story was one of the twins died, but we'll get to that a little later. So this moon crossed over Uranus back in Taurus, and this is lighting up your higher dimensional mind, and we're going to talk about low D and high D. So hopefully you won't get stuck in the old low D world, which is 3 dimensions, length, width, and height. Stuck in the linear temporal world of beginnings and endings. So this chart we're showing you, and when I take you outside and show you the night sky, we're looking at arcs. So this can show us in this linear, if you look at these lines, so these 2 lines, they meet, intersect right here in the center point. So that's you. When you're born, the horizon right here is in a specific spot at a degree in a specific sign. So that has a face, a form, so that is projected onto you. And you also have this lower connection and a higher connection. So the top of the sky and the lower part of the sky. So length, width, and height, and then beyond that is the sphere right here. So we measure these arcs of time in degrees and segments so that we can relate them back into 3 dimensions. So that way we can correlate to our understanding so that we can hallucinate and imagine, this world we live in. So when you have an interaction with somebody and you come back and you think about it and then you imagine all the scenarios, scenes, you regret you didn't say or get a number, here's my number, or you just regret that you didn't speak up. You didn't exteriorize your desire. So Moon in Gemini is learning about appetites. What are your attractions? So fortunately and unfortunately, attractions are what destroy us. They pull us off center. So when you're attracted, that means you're polarized in one direction. So when we go in that direction, we create an imbalance in the other direction because we live in a sphere. So the sphere always maintains symmetry. So for you, when you are whole and balanced and grounded, then you're literally flowing power, and you're tuned into a larger flow of power. So this is how you master time space. So we start with the simplest of forms, a line and a circle. So the very first line right here, then we took another line and made from north to south, boom, east to west. Now we have 4 quadrants. So these dimensional awarenesses are something you have to attune to, because your physical form is bipolar, double-bodied. That's what Gemini means. You have male and female characteristics. So you are polarized in hemispherical dimensions. So here in the northern hemisphere, we can only see from the horizon, sunrise, to the other horizon, sunset. We can't see the underworld. Now those below us, say Australia and these Antarctic, they live on this side, the other hemisphere, northern hemisphere. So we're looking at this in reverse form. So one dimension spins in one direction, and then the higher dimension rotates in the other direction. So that creates these infinite loops where the North Poles runs to the south and the south runs to the north, in these endless loops. So what we call eternity, eternal, are loops. So the sun itself loops in this path around the earth from our point of view. Now we are actually rotating around the sun. But from light's perspective, we are looking how light reacts to us on Earth right here. So we're the center point of this dimensional awareness. So let's go out here. Saturn's right there, going back to 12 degrees. So then it will turn direct in Pisces. So Saturn retrograde has been a polar reversal, a shift in the old way you remember things. So this is leaving old spiritual stories, old wounds, having compassion for others. But if you give away too much of yourself, you're drained. So Pisces are two fishes. One swims in the zodiac in the 3D right here in the center square, and the other fish is outside this sphere, and that's represented by Neptune. So Neptune will be in a new dimensional space and time when it enters Aries with Saturn right on its tail. So 2025 is going to be wild, huge changes of dimensions. So the low D is trying to scare you with this one, Mars and war, but this Mars is looking at and preparing to shed the old you, shed the old emotional patterns that kept you trapped in the old world. So I'm going to show you the moon and Jupiter right on the midheaven. So there's Jupiter and the moon. This is phenomenal. So that's a waning gibbous moon shedding its light after that full moon. So this moon's about 220 degrees. So that's in this transformative emotional sphere, hot acidic water, acid that just, makes you bitter. So this is a chance to wash away your bitter feelings, kill off the weak. So we're going to show you Mars. There's Mars right there on the bottom right, and that's Pollux and Castor, the twins. So those two, that story, one died in a battle. One was driving the chariot. So he loved his brother so much he gave up his own life. So the story of this Dioscuri, one twin died, one lived, and then they switched places the next day. and repeat it over and over. So we do have to kill off the lower mindset that keeps you trapped in the linear world. So that temporal world of beginnings and endings. This spatial, higher dimensional world where we're seeing 4D now, 4 dimensions and higher. So time-space is where this sun rotates in a circular, predictable pattern infinitely, and then this moon relationship phase with this solar principle. So the moon is the past patterns, your phases you went through in your previous life each year before. So the moon helps you relate your emotional feelings to your time-space awareness. Mars is your desires. When you master your desires, that's when you can escape the negative loops, because it's your desires that destroy you. They polarize you. And when you're attracted to something, that attraction creates an imbalance when you are moving towards it. So, it's time to tune up to these higher dimensions and look at arcs of time so that you can escape the old wounds and patterns that keep you trapped in that negative emotional sphere, which is where water is. It's the fire that is a linear upwards dimensional understanding. So excellent time to leave the low D density where they're scaring you with war and strife. Yeah, this is a time for you to understand and be independent and unified with the higher understanding that we are in greater and greater dimensional awareness. So we're going to see things that will blow your mind. Anyway, drop the negative space. Balance too much positivity, because that's just pure potentiality and nothing ever gets done. So it is a fine balance between Mars and Venus, desire and power. Any way you go, tune in, tune up, and participate. Astro Sherpa out.